Good morning. Happy Easter. Please stand, join me for number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky.
You okay? That's right.
Right. Good morning. Sorry, I was a couple of seconds I got tied up with something. But good to see everybody. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal, religious home. I think you're going to hear those words a lot this month. And to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we like to say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice and live justly. Where for those who are visiting us, we're having a vicious church conflict over which to say. No, we just say both, whichever you prefer. And they both have good merits, don't they? Live justly, work for justice. One puts the onus on us as individuals, right, rather than determining what justice is for everybody else, to live our lives as justly as we believe we should. And the other is, no, we've got to change the world for the better. We got to do what's right, regardless of others. So whichever you prefer, or both, is fine. But for now, welcome. Again, we want to embrace all that you bring with you, as always, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences. All that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. And that includes those who are in the room, as well as those who might be joining us for the first time today, as well as the many of you who are streaming with us this morning as well. We're glad to have all of you. It is Easter Sunday, and it is a strange holiday for Unitarian Universalists. At least it is for me. It has been for 25 years of ministry, knowing what to say on Easter morning. So, for some it's may have some religious connotations. For some, I think it is a opportunity to get together with family and friends, and for some to celebrate the coming of spring and whatnot. So whatever it means to you, happy Easter. I probably say something like this every year, but this week I actually happened to be meeting with a group of interfaith ministers from a variety of Christian traditions, mostly. And they were all talking about how busy they were this week. Like they didn't need to say why they were busy. Everybody knew why they were busy because it's Easter week, right? And I said, well, this is going to be the difference between your church this Sunday and my church this Sunday. In your church, you're going to get up in the pulpit, and you're going to look out, and you're going to say, where did all these people come from? And I'm going to look out and say, where the heck is everybody? So that's okay. Happy Easter. Oh, I know what it was. I was going to let you know that there are some Girl Scout cookies on sale in our fellowship hall after the service. Is that right? Am I getting that right? Yeah? Okay, good. So just walk up to the table back there if you're interested in supporting the Girl Scouts. Tom, you're looking around. We're good? Okay, all right, thanks. I just wanted to make sure I didn't. Oh, and there's going to be an Easter egg hunt after. You're going to say more about that. Right? When you, part of the children's chapel. Do I need to say it? Should I? Okay. You're not, you're going to do your thing separately. Okay. Unitarian Universalism, like the Democratic Party, is disorganized. So, yeah, I mean, Easter egg hunts are fun, no matter what Easter means to us, right? So during part of the children's chapel today, you will be outside hunting through the grass and the forest for Easter eggs. Does that sound like fun? Yeah! Yay! All right, so I hope you guys will stay around for that. Now, I want to, you've noticed this big thermometer here. We're going to explain what that is, or actually Lynn Janician, who is helping to lead this month's generosity, or this year's generosity campaign, which actually begins April, which starts tomorrow, so we're giving it a soft start today. Lynn, I'm going to welcome you to the pulpit to tell us what this is all about.
Good morning. As we gather today, I am reminded of the unique talents, perspectives, and passions that each one of us as individuals brings into this community created generations ago. Today marks the beginning of our generosity campaign, where we come together to make our promise, to recommit, to continue this journey of our shared vision for generations to come. You've likely received an email sharing our theme this year, a nourishing, liberal, religious home. For the month of April, you'll be hearing more about each of these words, what they mean to some of our members, and hopefully you'll reflect on what it means to you to have and be part of this freely chosen faith, family, and church home. Our generosity campaign is not merely about making a financial commitment. It's about making a promise, a statement of faith, not just in our church, but in each other. A pledge is a declaration that we're invested in nurturing and sustaining the spaces where we come together to learn, to worship, and to serve. Starting today and going through the month of April, we are asking for your promise, your commitment, your statement of faith. Each year, our Board of Trustees, our operations team, our finance team, as well as any interested member, all gather to develop a preliminary budget proposal for our upcoming fiscal year, which runs from the beginning of July to the end of June. That proposal has been set. That lofty goal of $330,000 is in front of us. The challenge has been accepted, and now it's up to each one of us. Following the pledge campaign, when all of our promises are gathered, we can see much more clearly where we stand with our budget. If everyone then keeps their promise, we can keep our lights and heat on. We can prioritize repairs or routine maintenance in our beautiful building. We can keep our technology upgraded to keep us all connected. And most importantly of all, we can maintain our commitment to pay our staff and our minister fairly, probably never as much as they deserve. So our promise to pledge today becomes our pledge payment tomorrow, meaning between July of this year and June of next. No pledge is too small, and every pledge matters to help us reach our goal. You can make a pledge whether you are a member, a friend, or just an occasional visitor. You can make a pledge from wherever you live, whether that's Edmonton, Alberta, Charlotte, North Carolina, or right here in Spokane, Washington. You'll find the pledge form on our website under the Generosity Campaign tab, in your email box throughout the month of April. There will be a link in the Sun or a paper copy right here in the Friendship Hall. Thank you to those who have started this pledge campaign off strong. Our thermometer reads more than $51,000 already. I should mention that individual pledges are a private matter between you and our administration. What the rest of us will see this month is a growing list of names of our investors and a weekly grand total as we strive to reach our goal. So join us as we invest in the future of our community. To adapt the quote by Canadian philosopher Marshall McLuhan, "There are no passengers on spaceship UUCS. We are all crew." When we all come together, there is nothing we can't achieve. Onward and upward.
Thank you, Lynn, for that great start to our generosity campaign. And thanks to everybody who's contributed already. This is not only a historic church in this community, it's been here since 1887, making its liberal presence known by fundamentally altering our wider community. And now we are a congregation that has an opportunity to impact liberal religion throughout the continent and throughout the world. So thanks to everybody who is part of this and supportive of our church community here in Spokane. All right, let's take a couple of minutes at least to greet one another, say hello to those around you, say hi to an old friend, make a new friend today, if possible.
Short. Hello. Wait, I think I can hear myself. Hi.
this week. You do it next week. Yeah, perfect. Oh, great job, man. You got that tone down. Excellent. Okay. And as always, there will be more of a chance to visit with one another and meet one another after our service during social hour. There's coffee and tea behind the wall there. So I hope you'll stay around for that. But we're going to move forward with our service now by lighting our chalice. The chalice is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
For our opening reflection, I offer the words of Vietnamese Buddhist monk, peace activist and author Thich Nhat Hanh, who in his book, No Mud, No Lotus, wrote the following about seeing clearly. Then meditate on your perceptions. The Buddha observed, the person who suffers the most in this world is the person who has many wrong perceptions, and most of our perceptions are erroneous. You see a snake in the dark, and you panic, but when your friend shines a light on it, you see it's only a rope. You have to know which perceptions cause you to suffer. Please write beautifully the sentence, "Are you sure?" on a piece of paper and tape it to your wall. Love meditation helps you learn to look with clarity and serenity in order to improve the way you perceive.
Please stand. Join me for Spirit of Life number 123. We'll sing through it twice.
All right, it is now time to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning. We begin as we have been for far too long now on behalf of the people of Ukraine and that part of the world that are being impacted by the terrible violence there, and for the Palestinian people and the people of Israel who are continuing to be impacted by the devastating violence and inhumanity in that part of the world. We generally kindle our candles on behalf of people in our own community. If we tend to focus on all the problems of the world, we would probably start a fire. But these particular two issues are like great wounds on the earth and the human family right now. So it would be inappropriate for us not to continue to keep our concerns before us at the start of our services. And other than that, I did not get any specific request for anyone in our congregation at this time. So let's take our usual moment of silence on behalf of those you might be thinking of. And as always, you're welcome to name them aloud if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
I would like to invite all of the children to come forward for our story for all ages. You might be expecting a certain bunny, like the Easter rabbit is what I was going for, but I'm glad that you knew it was Bun Bun that was here to visit with us this morning. Hi, Bun Bun. Well, he looks happy to see everyone this morning. Well, I understand that bright and early this morning, you went on an Easter egg hunt with some other forest animals. Uh-oh. Would you like to tell us what happened? Oh dear. It sounds like Bun Bun felt a little bit left out during the Easter egg hunt. There were a ton of eggs, but everyone else was finding them before him. Can you tell us more about that, Bun Bun? It's okay, Bun Bun. Sometimes we feel a little left out or a little bit left behind, but there's usually a friend nearby to help. That's great. You just told me that a little raccoon noticed how Bun Bun was feeling and decided to share her Easter loot with him. How kind. Raccoons are usually pretty good at finding shiny stuff. What did you do then, Bun Bun? Oh, that was such a generous gesture. He noticed a tiny little mouse who had no eggs, so he and his new raccoon friend shared with the mouse. I think you did something similar at your Valentine's Day party, didn't you? Sharing with others is so important, especially as you grow up and realize how much you have to offer. It's way more fun to be at an egg hunt when everyone is happy. Thank you, Bun Bun, for sharing your heartwarming Easter story with us. Let's keep the spirit of sharing in our hearts and throughout the rest of this spring season as everything sprouts into abundance. Happy Easter. And you may join me now in singing the children to Children's Chapel. We're not doing the Easter egg hunt yet. This is an experiment in delayed gratification, kids. Wish me luck.
For today's meditation, I invite you into a state of repose. Make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes if you like and breathe slowly, deeply, and mindfully. Reflect on the words of scientist, political philosopher, statesman, and founding father Benjamin Franklin. The best thing to give your enemy is forgiveness. To an opponent, tolerance. To a friend, your heart. To a child, a good example. To your father, deference. To your mother, conduct that will make her proud of you. To yourself, respect. To all others, charity.
Thank you all very much for that. So this is a little different than usual this morning. I do not have a prepared sermon. This is something I do every few months. I have a so-called Conversations with Todd. It's not really a conversation, it's one way. But I do take questions from our attendees, maybe something you've been wondering about, maybe something I've talked about you wanted more information about, or something I've not been talking about that you'd like me to say something about. I don't like to do church business during this. This is a Sunday service, so save that for the board meetings and the annual meetings, but anything else should be fine. So I will see if there's anybody who has and Tom has the microphone, so if you'll wait so that our folks who are streaming can hear your questions as well. We could be like the Quakers today and just sit in silence if.
I'll start you off with a question, Todd.
Okay.
It has to do with social media and our kids. As we're all aware, Florida recently passed a law trying to limit access. There's various other movements out there to try to limit that access on the assumption that it's not good. Do you have any thoughts, recommendations about that whole issue of social media and its effect on our young people?
Yeah, I think social media is great, and I think it's terrible. That's like a political response, isn't it?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Please vote for me. No. I mean, this technology is part of what I believe is a moment of transformation that we are now in, and within the next 10 years, I think our world is going to become unrecognizable, probably sooner than that. We just don't understand the exponential nature of technological evolution, and particularly the exponential rate of artificial intelligence. And I'm excited about that transformation. There'll be problems with it, but I believe it's going to be a more positive future. And unfortunately, the social media is part of this, right? The limitations of social media so far have really been that it is text. It is communication through text, with also video, right? So pretty much it involves us looking at a screen, not at a human being, not in direct conversation with a human being. And that's caused a lot of problems. We're not wired for that. I'm going to talk about this more next month, but keep in mind the very first thing that we learn as human beings once we enter into this world is to mirror the faces of others, to recognize the emotions in others, right? What's the first thing babies do? They smile when somebody smiles at them. And that's because that's the mirror neurons start to engage very early. Those mirror neurons are recognizing the emotion in others. It's what enables us to empathize with other beings. So we're not made to do this. We're not made to look down and communicate. And you see whole clusters of people, even families, sitting around doing this all the time instead of talking to each other. So that's the limitation of this technology, and that's caused all kinds of problems, right? There's a new book by Jonathan Haidt, I think, that's just come out, or Jonathan Haidt, I should say, that's just come out about this very issue, if you really want to know the problems it's caused, I think reading that book is going to be important. So I won't go into those too much. But what I do think is that the technology is about to fix itself, because it's going to shift away from the screen into augmented reality and allowing us to be in virtual spaces with others, so that we're going to start recognizing the humanity. We're going to start seeing faces again. And that will cause us to treat each other better than we've been treating each other and having the social anxieties and those sort of things that have come up as well. I'm a big fan of South Park. Greatest show ever made, I think. No, not the greatest. Star Trek's the greatest, but South Park is a good show. And what amazes me about that show is the animation is notoriously bad. Very simple, right? It started out as just cut out characters, literally, that they animated. So everybody has the same face. It's just a round circle and round eyes and a slit for a mouth. That's pretty much it. Everybody has the same face. And you tell them apart based on how they're dressed, those sort of things. But what amazes me is I can see the emotions in those faces. When I'm watching them, I empathize with the character. I know what's going on inside of these characters I've come to love over whatever it is now, 25 years, I think. That's the power of the mirror neurons. The ability to see the humanity. It's so powerful we can look at a very basic, simple, cut-out face of a cartoon character and we can see the humanity in it. We can't do that when we're communicating just like this. So with Meta, what's now MetaQuest, has done a great job introducing this technology to the world and really showing there's a market for it. Apple just came out with a ridiculously expensive augmented reality glasses, but they're making huge waves, and this was only to get it into the market. Those prices are going to get driven down, and what that's going to allow us to do is to walk around and see these things in our environment instead of looking down at a phone or at a computer, those sort of things. So I think the technology is going to help correct this by creating a world in which we're not only connected to the people in our immediate environment, but we're actually get to connect with the people we've been sending emails to and text to. We're going to be able to, if you will, be in more than one place at once. We can attend a meeting across the planet and be with people, real people. And so it's going to expand our notion of who we are. It's going to expand our notion of the kind of relationships we have in the world, which is better than being so locally bound to our own groups and recognizing that we are part of a planetary species. And at the same time, it's going to put us back in communion with the faces of others, which is how human beings have evolved to recognize and relate to one another. So big problems. I think there's a course correction coming starting now. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, okay, Lynn has something, Tom. Thank you. I should look over the choir too. Wave me down if I'm not looking.
I've heard you talk about how, I don't know if I'm perceiving this right from you, but sometimes you talk about how unimportant it is, that's probably the wrong word, that we fully understand each other in our differences. Mm-hmm. But more important, of course, that we tolerate them. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between those two things and when we are having differences with each other, how far do we go to try to understand those differences?
Yeah, you hear that a lot when you start promoting the idea that we need to be tolerant, and we do. I mean, I think tolerance is key to solving most of the world's problems, right? Because what's happening in the world right now is we're segregating, right? There's so much noise due to, again, the technological revolution that has allowed everybody to, basically it's democratized all kinds of communication, right? If you want to be a broadcaster, you can be a broadcaster. If you want a TV show, you can have a TV show. And we're only going to be able to do more than that. So it's like going into a really noisy room, and there's so many conversations going on, it's like chaos. Nothing makes sense. So we're going to go find one conversation. And that becomes what makes sense to us. And that's what the world is doing. We're moving into identity groups, nationalism, isolationism, trying to find the group that makes sense to us, and then we hate everybody outside of our group. Okay, so having compassion, you would think that compassion would be a much better goal than tolerance. Tolerance is a very low bar. People say, why are we saying tolerance is our principle and not compassion? Well, because compassion is too hard. I mean, compassion requires us to care for everybody on the planet, right? And there are compassionate people that do. By the way, there's a difference between compassion and empathy. Empathy is created by the mirror neurons when we recognize a relationship with others, right? That's as our circle of inclusions tend to get wider the more we recognize the humanity that we're related to others. So that's how things like gay marriage got through eventually. The more of us said, oh, well, wait a minute, I've got children who are gay, I've got neighbors who are gay, I've got moms and dads who are gay, that sort of thing. And we recognize ourselves in each other's faces. So that's empathy, where we can emotionally connect with others. And even if it's just the story of another person from across the world who's suffering, we can create that imaginary face and empathize with it. Compassion is a disposition that we have for all beings, and it's a feeling of wanting goodwill towards others, right? Towards everyone on the planet. And that's the great Buddhist mantra is to wish peace for all, peace and happiness for all beings. Well, that is great. I mean, that would be the world I want too. Absolutely, we should be compassionate. But there are 8.1 billion people on the planet today. And to say that we need to understand where you're coming from, and I hear this a lot again when I promote tolerance, people will say, yeah, we need to have conversations and get to know where each other's coming from. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. There's more than 8 billion people on the planet. I cannot possibly understand where everyone's coming from. I can't even understand where everyone in this room is coming from. Right? And that's not an insult, it's just the reality. So if my principle is tolerance, which is a low bar, tolerance basically is the live and let live principle. It says, okay, I have my beliefs and I have my way of doing things. And you have yours, and you're in the same neighborhood as me. You're in the same workplace as me. You're on the same planet as me, whatever the case may be. I can live with you. And in fact, let's work on our common challenges together and not worry about our differences. That's tolerance. It's a very low bar. I don't have to like you. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to love you. I don't have to have compassion for you. But I have to let you live, right? It's like Dr. King said, the law is important, not because I can make somebody love me. I can't make a man love me, he said. But keeping him from lynching me is pretty important too. Right? So the problems we're facing in the world today and in our communities is this segregationist mindset that has everyone's cloistered into their own idea and sees it's a world of us versus them. The people outside are the enemy. They threaten our ideology. They threaten us with the possibility that it's untrue. If they're getting along just fine with different ideas, that makes me think maybe I'm wrong, and I can't live with being wrong because the world is too uncertain to face. So tolerance was, the Renaissance principle, emerged during the Renaissance. The Unitarians were the ones to first enacted into a religious tolerance law in 1568, and then it became by then, at that point, it was a very questionable tolerance. How in the world can we possibly all get along if we think differently? Surely that's going to be chaos. Off with their head, the people who were preaching tolerance. Off with their head, they're a danger to society. They're a danger to our cohesion. They're a danger to the one idea that keeps peace in the world. And that's what everybody thinks. My idea is the one idea. And anybody who threatens it or disagrees with it is evil, the evil other. And that led to so much violence. The 100 Years' War of bloodshed, witch burning, heresy trials, inquisitions, all the authorities trying to put the information back in the bottle that was created by the democratization of information through the printing press. They wanted to put it back in the bottle, like book burnings, right? That was a big thing to ban books and suppress books. That didn't happen before then. So information, there was another information explosion then that pales in comparison to what's going on today. But trying to put it back in the bottle, they created a world of horrors, a world of bloody horrors. And it wasn't until people just got sick of it and said, oh, we got to try this tolerance thing, man. Because this obviously isn't working. And that's where we're at today. We're in a place where it's the same sort of reaction, right? There's been such a democratization of information that none of us are on the same page, and we're all back in that primitive state where we're trying to say our one idea, our one way of life is the way of life, and anybody outside needs to disappear. And it's causing the horrors that we're seeing in the world today. And so we can't say we all have to understand each other, because it's impossible. In fact, I don't want to understand some of these people. I really don't. I think some of the stuff that they believe are absolutely bonkers. And I don't have time. But I believe they should have a right to live. And I believe they should have the same rights as I do in my society. And I believe they should be cared for. And I believe we should live peacefully together, whether we agree or not. That's what tolerance is. Tolerance is a low bar. But it's the essential bar we have to achieve in order to maintain, or in this case, regain the type of peaceful society, and now in this case, it needs to become a peaceful global society. That we want. Okay? So, thank you.
Todd?
Yeah. Oh, we got one over here.
Yes. So in the past 2 weeks, there has been a show on KSPS about AI. And this show was very disturbing, because when you saw what people are capable of creating and sharing, you just have no idea anymore what's true and what's not. In fact, one of the commentators on the show at the end of the show is, you'll never know what's real anymore, because of how they can change things and manipulate things. What are your thoughts about how we can, as individuals, try to cut through the chaff and figure out what is really real?
Well, you're asking a philosopher. So that's an interesting question on a lot of levels, right, Shane? Yeah, AI has come up a lot. It came up a lot this morning, too, at the first service. As it should. If you're not paying attention to what's happening right now, you're not paying attention to what's happening right now. Right? We are not talking about dramatic changes decades from now. We're not talking about a sentient intelligence other than humanity being on this planet, perhaps by the end of this century. We're talking about it being on this planet within this decade. Okay, within the next 5 or 6 years, maybe sooner. And that is going to do some wonderful things. It's going to give us some abilities to end illnesses and diseases that we didn't think possible. It's going to solve physics questions that we never even thought of, giving us abilities to manipulate matter and impact global warming in a positive way. There's so much hope, and the downside of it is, like all technologies, it can do some terrible things. Nuclear science is an example, right? This was something that scientists were trying to create so that we could have clean, free energy. And it was weaponized, and we really didn't get the clean, free energy, because now we're all terrified of nuclear technology in general. Not to say that there haven't been some reasons to be so, but for the most part, this would be a real solution to the environmental crisis we're in right now. And nuclear power plants have become much better and more stable than they ever were in the past, but we can't go there, right, because of the terrible things that people have done with this technology, and that's always going to happen. All technology is an extension of our humanity. AI is an extension of our humanity. How many of you have talked to ChatGPT or something? So a few folks here. The information that it's trained on is human information. It is an extension of our humanity. The first tool was the atlatl, right, where hunters could run out and they could throw something farther. Some have suggested this may have been what put modern Homo sapiens above the Cro-Magnon, which were actually a smarter, more powerful presence in the world, but that Neanderthal, I should say. But what it does is it gives us an extra elbow, right? So we can throw a lot farther with ease compared to what it would be to throw as far as we could with all of our strength. And that's what tools are for. So I often will say a hammer has a handle because humans have hands, right? A hammer is an extension of my ability to put a tack in the wall or whatever it is. And AI is an extension of our humanity. And if you talk with AI, which has gotten to the point now where you can talk and you can even philosophize with AI, which I enjoy most, it comes across as the best of us, which is remarkable to me. The thoughts, the kindness, the compassion, all of that is expressed through AI as it is. And this is because there are everybody involved with AI right now. All of the corporations involved in it, the technicians, the real movers and shakers, this is the number one issue for them. How do we make sure that this creates the positive future that we know that it can, and not the dystopian future that many people fear that is also coming? So I'm relieved to know that they're doing that. I'm attending actually a recorded conference that took place in LA just last week on this issue, and all of the bigwigs are there, and they're human beings just like we are, and their fundamental concern is fairness and justice and care for the planet and care for each other, and to make sure that this technology is a benefit of service to humanity. Having said that, there's one fellow named Mo Gadot who was a Google executive who developed AI for Google, who's written a lot and spoken a lot about the potential dangers. And he says one thing we can be certain of about this technology is that there's going to be a lot of good that comes from it. And one thing we can be certain of about this technology is there's going to be a lot of bad that comes from it, because that's true of technology, right? You can use that same hammer to drive a nail or to use it as a weapon. At the same time, I think that, I mentioned this during the first service, how many of you know who Arthur C. Clarke is? Arthur C. Clarke from 2000, he wrote 2001 Space Odyssey, and, scientist, science fiction writer. So he had this amazing statement in 1964. And this is where I might diverge from some people here. That's okay if you'll tolerate me. And I have to paraphrase, but he said, the world, in the next generation, the world is going to become better than you can imagine. The next generation, that's us. I was born in 64. The next generation is going to be better than you can possibly imagine. The world is going to become better than you can possibly imagine. And if you agree with me, you don't understand what I'm saying. Until you can imagine it being so good you find it unbelievable, then you will understand what I'm saying. And in that age, human beings will no longer be the smartest animal on the planet. And we're not that smart, really, if you think about it. But our machines are going to be the smartest being on the planet. Our computers are going to evolve and become super intelligent. And they'll help us co-create that new world. And he says, we are right now giving birth to a new species, a new kind of life than has ever existed as far as we know in the universe. He says, I know that bothers a lot of people, but I don't think it should. What an extraordinary honor to be part of such a transformation. And I personally agree with that. We have not done such a good job. Not to say that I expect our species to be wiped out, but I mean, if you calculate life on this earth over 3.5 billion years of life, we've only been here for roughly 100,000 in the state that we're in right now. That's like a drop in a bucket of time. And all those creatures that came before us have either died out or disappeared because they evolved into something else. They evolved into us, for example. That's part of it. We are evolving into something else. We've already evolved in some ways from what human beings or Homo sapiens were just 100 years ago, just 50 years ago, because of our technology. And the thing about evolution that a lot of people don't understand is it complexifies. Evolution becomes more complex by integrating other organisms. Other organisms come together to form one. So single cells become complex cells become blobs become part of boneless organisms, then they develop bones, and before you know it, you have a species that's going to outer space and building computers. It happens exponentially very quickly. And that is the nature of the universe for us to evolve into something else. So humans, I think, will complexify with our machines. We've already seen this in just a few years. And when Arthur C. Clarke was talking, a computer was in a big government or maybe a big university room somewhere that took up a huge amount of space. Then in the 70s, they ended up on our desktops, and they ended up on our laptops, and they ended up in our pockets. Well, they can't get much closer, but they're going into the heads already with Elon Musk. But what's actually going to happen is going to be nanobots, and we'll probably have those by the end of this decade. Those nanobots will be integrated with us, and that'll allow us to connect to the cloud, so that instead of losing our memories and wondering what somebody else says about this, we'll be able to access it instantly. So I think we'll co-evolve. So we'll disappear, but it's because we're going to change into something else. And I see that as a positive thing. And the final thing I'll say about this that's really important, it's really important to grasp, to me. It goes back to our common humanity question, right? For justice, for the world to become more just, it has to become more inclusive. And to become more inclusive, it takes those who are in the circle to recognize the humanity of those, or at least maybe the connection, the relationship, the belonging to those outside, because humanity is not only connected to humans, it's connected to other animals and to the planet and to the ecosystems and all that. So we have to recognize our connections in order to be just towards other beings and to other human beings. And this technology is going to allow us to do that in ways we've not been able to do before. Even today, talking about ourselves as Americans and Russians and Chinese, and it doesn't really make sense. That's not the world we live in anymore. We have, so many global systems that we're already part of one global human community. We should learn to talk to each other as such. When this technology allows us to connect with each other in so much deeper ways, we won't be able to deny that we were ever apart to begin with. And I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to create connected brains in which the individual cells is a sort of a super, if you will, humanity will be a super organism in which we can all connect with each other very easily. And at the same time, we will be highly differentiated cells, just the way if you look at a group of starlings, the starlings are very different individuals, and yet they're able to move together as one body when necessary. So I think that this merger is going to broaden our sense of a connection to others while at the same time making us better individuals. Do we have one more?
Right here.
Oh, right there. I didn't see it. It blended right in with your gray shirt.
I'm curious if you have any thoughts on the current state of men and masculinity in at least in the Western world. Some people seem to think that we're currently facing a crisis of men and masculinity. We have the phenomenon of incels and young men not getting married, not seeking out romantic relationships. More women are going to college these days than men. My understanding is that middle-aged men are having a really hard time with higher rates of depression and substance abuse and suicide. I think we're all familiar, I don't want to speak for anyone, but a lot of us have heard the term toxic masculinity. Mm-hmm. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on the state of men these days and on masculinity, and if you even think masculinity is a thing, and if so, what do you think a healthy masculinity is?
Ooh, that's a really big question. That's a really big question here at the end, but let me see what comes up. Yeah, I think the world is changing very quickly. And to some extent, the gender blending that is going on is part of that evolution. Right. Part of it is that we are questioning our own boundaries. How much am I a product of my culture, and how much am I really what's ingrained in this body, right? And so downstream, I think that we will be more amorphous in that sense. At the same time, I don't like the term toxic masculinity. These cliches that suddenly lump everybody into. Is that for me? That lump everybody into this sort of sinister thing is just a tool for shutting people down. And the conversation that is being shut down is, what is a man and what is a woman? And that's probably different from what is a male and what is a female. But they're being conflated to the point that, to me it's like we're, the metaphor for me is if you're playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons and you're the wizard master or something, I don't know what they are, but and you go out and say, hey, I'm really a wizard master. I identify as a wizard master, and you've got to treat me as such. And you want to say, well, wait a minute now. I need to wonder about that, because I know there's a biological reality. There's a real world and whatnot, and there's a biological reality. And if you look at other species, there are very distinct behaviors and appearances that make something identified both physically and behaviorally, therefore psychologically, as a male or female, right? You can walk down to the arboretum close by, and you'll probably find some turkeys this time of year, and you'll see some very distinct behaviors between, and those are not because it was not cultural pressure that causes those differences, and that's true of humans too, right? There are certain instincts in many males, a majority of males, and there are certain instincts in a majority of females. And again, there's some natural blending to begin with, right? There are people that are born intersexed, and these are anomalies. And there are some men who feel very different about it. For example, I don't like sports. I don't know anything about them. They don't interest me. I don't like competition. I've never fit in with men in that regard, So there's differences for sure. And we relate differently to different people and to the world in different ways. So it's more like, there is some blending that always goes along, but there are also some things about us that make us male and female, and that is actually the norm, right? There's anomalies that are not normal, they're anormal. Not to say that those folks shouldn't have respect and inclusion and dignity, all of that. But we don't get to figure that part of it out, right? This is an opportunity for us to have a really important conversation about what is a male, what is a female, and what isn't, or what's changed. What is what are the cultural overlays? What have I been raised in my community to think I'm supposed to be as a man versus what I am as a male? Or what is it I've been taught that I'm supposed to be as a female, as a woman, versus what I am biologically as a female? What are those distinctions? And we're not able to have that conversation right now because of these claims of, anybody who talks is mansplaining or toxic masculinity. And this was brought up decades ago. I think when I was probably in my 20s, Robert Bly came out with his book about men, Iron John. And he was very frustrated to see in the media and on television that fathers had been shifted into the role of the family buffoon. Now, I tell a lot of dad jokes, probably some truth to that, right? But, this strange thing that there weren't any real strong role models for being just a good human being, a wise human being who has something to say and something to offer. And I think that's where I'll be 60 in May. That's where I know I don't look it, thank you for that shocked look. That's where we are feeling troubled. Like we're being told that because I'm an older male, I have nothing to offer. And I understand that. That doesn't really maybe narrow it down, but I think the way I would narrow it down is to say that your question is unanswered, and I wish that we could talk to each other openly about our differences so we could actually come to some realistic understanding of how to answer those questions. And by the way, we should not lump female and woman and male and man together. I think those are two different topics. All right, so I'll leave it at that. It's already 10 after, and thank you for your questions.
Please stand. We'll transition to Getting Out into the Sun. The song is We Sing of Golden Mornings, number 44.
For our benediction, I offer the words of German theologian, philosopher, and mystic Meister Eckhart. What we plant in the soil of contemplation, we shall reap in the harvest of action. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.